She was a contributor. She served as the White House Director of Specialty Media under President George W. Bush. She's now senior advisor for the Trump-Pence campaign, and she joins us on our guest line. It's been a while since I've had a chance to visit with Mercedes and her wonderful husband, Matt. So, Mercedes, welcome back. How have you been?
I've been great. How are you, Mike?
I'm great. I'm better now that I can hear your voice because there's a lot of exciting things going on in the country. The president, he seems to be having, I think the David Letterman phrase always used to be more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. He's having fun with Chris Cuomo and the big meltdown. Have you seen the viral video of Chris Cuomo yelling at the guy?
I did. I think he had a bit of a meltdown there, which I don't know if it's a New Yorker thing though, because I think maybe that's how
Yeah, New Yorkers don't take a lot of
Yeah, I know.
But the president tweeted out a few minutes ago, would Chris Cuomo be given a red flag for his recent rant, filthy language, and a total loss of control? He shouldn't be allowed to have any weapon. He's nuts. So the president is sort of playfully interjecting the red flag law debate with Chris Cuomo's public meltdown over being called Fredo.
Yeah, I always say that if it would have been like any sort of other host or like a radio host like yourself, you could just see the protesters outside going, "You need to be fired after being treating another person like that."
Right.
But, I think that it's a little bit. We'll see what Chris Cuomo does tonight on the show. It'll be very interesting to see.
Very interesting to watch.
You know what I was thinking? Chris should just invite the person to come on the show with him. I think that would be the clever way to solve it, if you were to ask me.
That'd be but that would suggest he'd be magnanimous and gracious and a little humble. I don't think he has any of that. I mean, but Mercedes, I before we get on to some serious substantive things and talk about the campaign and the excitement over the reelection of President Trump, I want to share with you what a caller said a minute ago that I think is pretty deep and profound. Anytime I make the mistake of spending 5 minutes on CNN, I'm watching the anger, the rage, the hatred that is directed towards this administration almost every minute of every hour of every day. They hate us. They hate the administration. They hate him. They call us racist, supremacist, all this other crap. And so, in a way, the rage that Chris Cuomo exhibited in his personal life might be sort of emblematic of the way a lot of these folks at CNN, how they really feel in their hearts.
Well, there's no question that CNN, from the leadership down, has made a calculated decision to do everything they can to destroy this president. And their agenda is clearly one thing, which is they want to focus on beating Donald Trump and get some sort of radical Democrat in power. And it just shows how disconnected the CNN elites are from where everyday Americans are, which, you get to travel, I get to travel across the country, and every time I have an opportunity to have these conversations with just a different folks, Hispanics, African Americans, whites, and we have these discussions, and this conversation turns into the fact that my life is better under Donald Trump's economy. I'm succeeding, I have better opportunities, my kids have better opportunities, and we want to keep winning. And then they also then say how concerned they are, and you even have moderate Democrats saying this, how concerned they are of the rhetoric that the Democrats are talking about day in and day out, which is that of pushing socialist policies that are not aligned with the United States. These Green New Deals, this Medicare for all, I mean, you name it, free health care for illegals, things that we know that can't sell. I mean, it just doesn't sell. They're not practical solutions. And I think that that's why you see the Democrat Party in disarray. You see the fact that CNN has made this calculated decision, again, to ensure that President Trump doesn't win. And I think that that's just, it's why the ratings are so bad. I mean, it's why you can barely watch any of the soap shows because it's so predictable what they're going to say.
Right. Even when they had town halls on CNN featuring candidates, they didn't rate well. I mean, people just aren't.
You put Don Lemon in to be a moderator at a Democrat debate, who is the most, you know exactly who he's lying to. I mean, he should have just been on the stage with the rest of them.
Right, right. It's fascinating to me how these guys continue to cross a bridge too far. They tried Russia for 3 years. 3 years, it was Russia, Russia, the hoax. That falls apart. They didn't get what they wanted out of that. So then they pivoted to let's call Trump and his supporters racists and white supremacists. And every Democrat candidate except Kamala Harris, I believe, has is now on record as calling the president a white supremacist. First of all, let's talk about how crazy they've become and how unhinged they are in these kind of accusations. But secondly, is it notable to you, Mercedes, as senior advisor for the campaign, that Kamala Harris is the one person who, at least on this subject, seems to be a little bit circumspect?
Well, for now, I don't. I still think that could crumble pretty quickly. I do think that, I always say that to really call someone else a racist or a white supremacist, it is like one of the biggest insults that anyone can call another
Of course it
American.
is.
Seriously. And I
Yep.
think, I've been with the president. I've been with him with Hispanics, blacks, you name it. Like, we've had meetings with a variety of groups, and the president is incredibly respectful. He listens, and he pushes policies that actually have helped the minority community, whether it be opportunity zones, which are these investments in these distressed communities, whether it be criminal justice reform, which we know impacts especially the black community, where you've had the cycle of mass incarceration impacting these families, especially the low-income black families. So for the president, he's made it his goal to make sure that we uplift every American. And yet the Democrats, their only way that, like, a Julianne Castro or Beto O'Rourke can try to even get above 1%, get any attention in the media, is by calling the president a racist or white supremacist. So remember, they're using this as a political strategy of trying to attack the president because it's an easy way that they feel they can do it, to even try to gain any sort of attention coming from the media. And I just think that in and of itself, Americans look at that and say, how can you call the president these horrific names? Like,
Oh, I'm hearing from callers every day who are in the middle, who are on the fence, who are
yeah,
undecided, and they can't believe how over the top it is, and how you're right, how foul it is, how vile it is to call somebody a white supremacist, virtually ignoring all the times President Trump has condemned white supremacy and racism.
yeah.
I mean,
But,
that's the
again,
worst part.
and it's a narrative that, like, CNN has pushed and that MSNBC has pushed, that they want to, I always say, like, what, Mike? I'm a woman, I'm Hispanic, so I can't have a Democrat attack me, because if they attack me, does that make them a racist or a sexist?
Hmm.
I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Amazing.
Like, you should be able to call the squad out, okay, for their extreme policies. We should be able to call out Elijah Cummings because of the fact that Baltimore has been it's in distress in that West Baltimore area. It's like, but to them, they take it like this personal insult, like we're attacking people of color. It's like, no, we're not. We're talking these ridiculous policies and these radical policies that are not aligned with America. They're just not. And so,
but Mercedes, identity politics is in their DNA. Did you see the poll that came out a few weeks ago that over 30% of Democrats believe that for a white politician to even criticize a politician of color is in and of itself racism? Now, can you imagine that?
It's well, I mean, that's why you've also seen. Yes, I mean, it is shocking that you find
It's insane.
that 30% of the people believing that, because at the end of the day, what America should stand for is for freedom of expression, freedom of thought, diversity of opinion. But here's the deal: what the left wants to do, Mike, is they want to silence you, they want to silence me, they want to silence anyone who supports President Trump and his policies. And that's the way they're going to do it, is by the name calling. The way they're going to do it is, it's the easy way out. It's what children do in a playground, which is they're going to call you, the bully's going to call you names, and they try to shut you down. And I say to those people out there, the silent majority, the growing silent majority, is you speak up. You speak up respectfully, and you say, you know what, your opinion, that might be your opinion and your truth, but this is my opinion. In America, I can speak up, because that's what we want to promote, especially amongst our young people, that they have the opportunity to not to speak up and not stay silent because people are afraid to say they support Donald Trump. And I think that that's just a horrible way. That's just shouldn't be part of our democratic experiment.
Well, you want to talk about voices being silenced? A couple weeks ago, my dear friend and colleague Dennis Prager testified on Capitol Hill about the way Google and YouTube are censoring PragerU videos, putting them on the restricted list. Check this out. This was just handed to me. YouTube has removed the video of Cuomo's meltdown, citing their harassment and bullying policy. So I guess making fun of Chris Cuomo and calling him Fredo.
That's
When I first saw that, I thought, well, who's harassing and bullying who? They're talking about Cuomo yelling at the guy and cursing him out and threatening him and ready to fight him. But YouTube is trying to stop the video from going any more viral than it already has.
Well, don't you picture these corporate guys sitting around the table, going, well, let us see. They violate our corporate policy on bullying, or you just picture them. They live in this bubble.
Unreal.
They did to Mitch McConnell, where the protester was outside making these violent threats, and oh, we got to ban the video. It's like corporate America should not be in any way dictating what our freedoms are.
Amen.
And that's something that the president has highlighted for a long time.
You bet he has. Thanks for checking in, Mercedes. Great to talk to you. We'll talk to you again on the campaign trail. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Mercedes Schlapp, who is senior advisor for the 2020 Trump-Pence campaign, here on the Mike Gallagher Show in the ReliefFactor.com studios.